Let's go ahead and call to order our Thursday, May 18th, 2023, 9 a.m. Western Regional Water Commission meeting. If we could have a roll call, please.
Clara Andriola, Christopher Dare,
Here.
Susan Severt,
Here.
Paul Anderson,
Here.
Naomi Durr,
Here.
Mary Luz Garcia,
Here.
Jenny Breckus,
Here.
Alexis Hill. She's on Zoom. Donald.
Here.
Oh,
Here.
Here.
Hello.
we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. If we'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Donald Abbott, would you lead us, sir?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're moving on to public comment. Do we have any public comment out there? Anybody? Guess not. Let's go ahead and look for number 4, approval of the agenda. Do we have anybody who wants to shift anything, or do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion
We have a
to approve
first,
the agenda
For agenda?
for today.
I'm sorry?
Approve the agenda for today.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Move on. Okay, and now we are on to the election of the Western Regional Water Commission Chair for the 2023 calendar year. Before we get into conversation on that, I'd like to say something. It's been an honor to be the vice chair of this, and there's a lot of us get to serve in our region. I have been just really thinking about between what I see us doing as a region and even my own health and different things. And so I'm going to step back from leadership on this particular board. Now that probably, and I purposely put the 3 separate so we can have a conversation about each one and what you guys want to do. We do have some new people that I think would be fantastic to see step in as well. I think there's some people who have been involved in water, bring a lot of expertise. I'm not going off the board. That's not my goal. So it's not that I'm going to disappear, at least as I'm thinking now. But with that said, I am not going to put my name in for that. Now, that's nothing personal to our lovely Ms. Rigdon. I actually plan on a lot of different things. I want to be able to focus on the boards that I want to chair and lead and do a great job there. So with that said, let's go ahead and begin a conversation. I would encourage us, sometimes we just throw someone out there and vote on it. I'd want to take a minute and make sure we talk about this, of what we're thinking. One of the conversations that I know has been going around, and I am not against this, is that we make sure that this thing swaps around a little bit in our different jurisdictions. I know Ms. Breckus has brought it up many times. It's something that we've talked about. And I think where we're at as a region is learning to better and better trust each other and work together probably is a pretty good place to be. So with that said, that's my little speech. But I would like to hear, and maybe I'd like to do it this way. Let's just go and say some of the wishes, maybe each of you. What do you want to do so each of us can kind of hear what your goals are, and then we can make a decision how to move forward. So Ms. Breckus, would you like to go first?
I mean, I'm just going to say, I advocate on all these regional boards. It's really, Reno being the jurisdiction with direct representation of a larger number of folks, it's always been to Reno's disadvantage. But, where you think it might be the opposite, the bigger player has more, status on a board. But I advocate that all these boards, like RTC, like TMRP-A, have a rotating chair or vice chair from the jurisdictions.
So my question is, what do you want to do? I mean, I appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Well,
I just confirmed a little bit of what you were talking about in a way.
Yeah,
what is it that
change the bylaws, and but that's not on the agenda today. But in mindset of that, bring the three people on from the different jurisdictions, so that when you change the bylaws, you can move up with that that path forward for those individuals if they, or those slots to those entities if desired. And the STIMGID one really needs to be a Washoe County one. STIMGID was a, or no, I'm sorry, you're Sun Valley.
I was going to say, but I still want to make sure we stay on track. So
Yeah.
what I'm asking is, what do you want to do? Are
Yeah.
you interested in being chair or vice chair? Is that? Let me be direct. I thought I was, so
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
try it again. I think
yeah,
we've all
yeah.
talked and heard
Yeah.
all of the wishes of what we want to try to do.
And just to clarify, this is chair through the end of this calendar year. I think that's right.
Why is that?
That's how, yeah.
I'm going to raise my hand on that. If I'm-
The officer positions run through the end of the calendar year, you're correct. So
Yeah.
December
Okay,
31st
Yeah.
of each year.
So this would just be filling in for that, and I'm happy to do anything on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So as far as my opinions, I think the rotation's fine. I actually think the way that our bylaws are written are good as they are. I've let it be known on this board as well as Tumwa that I truly believe if you have the best leadership, that it's up to us as leaders to put those people in place. Likewise, if they're not doing a good job, to put someone else in there. From the board chair positions, vice chair and all. With that being said, I do think that this would be a good opportunity for Reno to represent on the leadership side there. But I would appreciate the opportunity if so chosen by you to be the vice chair of this board.
Thank you. Mr.
Yeah. First of all, I have supported Jenny in her proposal to rotate the officers for a long time. We stopped talking about it because it seemed like the board was not that interested in, but so I appreciate you bringing it up, Mr. Dare. That said, yeah, I think it would be good to kind of launch with Reno. But as to the term, if we are bringing back the bylaws, one of the recommendations I would have would to be sync it up with the fiscal year. So that's how Tumwa is as well. They vote in June, starting July 1 board. And I would, if we do review the bylaws, that would be my recommendation, is that we sync these things up fiscal year. And so they're all on a similar.
Yes, sir.
So, sorry, Mr. Chair, just point of clarification. The board positions and the terms of the board members are in statute, so we really don't have discretion to change those things. There's nothing that stops you from rotating the position as a matter of this board's discretion, but I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And I think that's one of the things that we can definitely, like I said, walk into and look at of how best to go as we go. But I do trust this board to make good decisions. So in the past and in the future, so I don't disagree with Paul necessarily that we are trying to, because again, this is a different kind of board because this was given to us by legislation in that setting. Ms. Stewart, do you have something else?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up. So what does it say in statute? Could you be more clear?
Yes. It says that the terms of officers expire on December 31st of each year. And then it says also that the board shall elect one of its members as chair and one of its members as vice chair, and shall elect a secretary and a treasurer who may be members of the board.
So in terms of expiration. Okay, I'll just mull on that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm also good with the rotating around, and I will gladly support Councilman Anderson in being vice chair. So I'm good on that.
Ms. Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm new to this, and one of the first thoughts I had when I attended the WRWC meeting and the Tumwa meeting was that notion that, water is a regional issue. Our constituents care about it. We all care about it. And the fairness of having a local jurisdiction be in charge of one, but having it kind of overlap and sync up with the other board. I know we're not here to talk about Tumwa, but thinking of it holistically, as we do with water, I was wondering if there was a way that we could kind of stagger it so that the jurisdiction that is in charge of WRWC isn't at the same time the jurisdiction that is in charge of or leading Tumwa.
I think those things we would have to, as leaders that are on those, we'll have to make those decisions separately. I'll speak for the lawyer. I know he's thinking that. we have to think those separately. But I think in theory, I think there's a wisdom. And I think, in the heart of what collaboration, of what I think needs to happen for our region, is we need to continue to function that way. So, thank you.
Well, and the only thing I'd add to that is that, you know, I'm not, no disrespect to how things have been done or in the past to anybody that took that decision, but, you know, when you have one local jurisdiction kind of leading the charge for as long as that happens, I don't think that is an equitable way to go about things. So moving forward, I'd love to see that regionally.
And then how about for you? What do you want to do? Are you interested in chair or vice chair?
In terms of the actual position, it's.
Or secretary, or treasurer?
I'll just kind of see where it lies after everybody's had a chance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Everett?
Well, as someone coming and looking inside, so I've followed this for a while. We follow everything in the valley. I am not interested in a leadership role at this time. I just took over as chair of the General Improvement District. But as a regional issue, it is nice to see that possible rotation would work because, again, it is a regional issue. And as we all know, you know, Mark Twain said that, you know, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. And that's definitely, I think, is going to be a big fight we're going to have here in the next decade. So that's my thoughts on this.
Thank you for the discussion, and I just wanted, that's the tone I want to set. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Alexis Hill, do you have anything you'd like to share? I forgot. I see a black screen. I don't get to see your
All
face.
good. And I'm walking into the building, but I will echo Commissioner Garcia's sentiments. And I really like the way that she has framed this, and that if we have a leader on WRWC and we have a leader in Tumwa, it'd be nice if it was two different jurisdictions. Obviously not making that decision today, but that should play into the decision that we're going to think about today. And no, I'm not seeking out a leadership position at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you in a moment. With that said, let's go ahead and I'm looking for a motion.
So I guess I didn't say this. I have served as vice chair of this group, and I would be willing to serve as chair. I didn't truly understand that I should say that at that
Well,
time.
let me help with this because it's never good to make a motion for yourself.
No.
I would move. I'm going to move that Ms. Dewar is the chair of this particular board. I think her expertise she brings to the table. She's had many years that we've served together, and that would be my motion then.
I would second.
Okay.
Then I'm going to do that.
Well, thank you. Oh, well, we haven't voted, and
Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
haven't heard any
I'm
comment.
ready to go. Any other discussion before we're done? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. I'm going to let you do the vice chair.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dare. You've been a great vice chair we got a printout here, and that has been at least 1, 2, 3, 4 years. And I myself served as vice chair for 2 years, so congratulations. And great, thank you for leading us this last year with Mr. Hartung stepping down and all the transitions. It's been very helpful to have the continuity.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we have one more chair down here. Welcome. For the record, Ms. Hill is here and has been here on the phone. We're going to move on to item 6, which is election of the, except we haven't voted. Did we vote? We voted. Okay. I just didn't hear Alexis. We're going to move on to item 6 for election of the Western Regional Water Commission Vice Chair for 2023 calendar year. And we're ready to hear that. And we didn't actually hear your thoughts. I know you're still unpacking, Ms. Hill, but we didn't actually hear your thoughts. And Ms. Garcia mentioned this rotation. Did you have a thought? Because it influences us here today.
Well, I think that if Councilman Anderson is interested in vice chair, we should absolutely support him. And I think that he's shown that he is like into this, read the book, went on all the tours. He and I talk about it a lot. So I think he'll be a great rep for us.
That'd be great. Okay. Are there any other thoughts or comments? Okay, can I hear a motion
So moved.
Second.
for Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Any board discussion? And since this is an action item, any public comment? All right, hearing none, all in favor of Mr. Anderson for vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Anderson, you are elected as our vice chair.
Yay.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to election of the Western Regional Water Commission Secretary and Treasurer. And I have a thought, and that is that I would like to recommend Ms. Sievert. You said you're not interested this year. Is that correct? That is correct. All right, so do we have a Washoe County person that is willing to step up? Let me ask.
Claire's not here today.
Yeah.
No, can I speak on this?
Please.
I want you to know that that particular leadership position does absolutely nothing except you put your name on a paper. And so let's put Claire on there just because we're funny. I think that's a great idea.
Well, I'm looking for, that was great discussion. I'm looking for a motion. Is there any,
You just got one right there.
right here? That was a motion, all right. Mr. Dare moves to appoint Ms. Andriola. Is that correct? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for Ms. Andriola for Secretary Treasurer combined. All in favor, please.
Aye.
All opposed? And I didn't call for public comment. I didn't want to hear from Ms. Andriola. No, I'm kidding. I know you're not online. So was there any public comment on that last motion? Okay, thank you. All right, and we are now going to move on to approval of the minutes for March 15th, 2023. And I hope everyone's had a chance to look at those, and I'll be looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any board discussion? Is there any public comment since it's an action item? All right, thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes of our last meeting, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. And we're moving on to the hot topic of the day, agenda item 9, which is a public hearing on the action, the discussion and possible direction to staff on adoption of the Western Regional Water Commission tentative budget for fiscal year 2024. And Ms. Rigdon, it sounds like you are on point.
I am. Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, commissioners. It's a beautiful Monday, or no, Thursday morning. Can't believe I said
Don't go
Monday.
back.
We're not going back, I promise. I prepared the screen above you so you could focus on that rather than looking at me. It always makes me a little bit nervous when everybody's looking at me. I'm just kidding. So the budget has been adjusted from our tentative budget to our final budget. There were minor adjustments to the staff and legal expenses. They were approximately $14,000. And those increases were due to just increases in the cost of the benefits that are associated with the salaries. Other than that, nothing else has changed. It just changed the numbers slightly. So our revenues are $1,730,000. Our estimated cash balance is $1,924,330 for a total of $3.6 million, approximately $3.6 million. Our professional services budget, which you've seen multiple times before in the past, is $2.1 million. Our staff and legal services are $617,572. Routine operating expenses have not changed. Those are $104,100. And for total expenses of $2.8 million, approximately $2.8 million. And so our estimated cash balance at the end of fiscal year 24 is estimated to be $772,658. And that well exceeds, we have a 6-month operating expense minimum, and that well exceeds that 6-month operating expense minimum. And with that, you should have received, just to make it clear, we had a little glitch on our website last night. We had an updated Schedule A1, I believe. And Jen Pergett should have handed out a corrected copy to you this morning before the board meeting. So you should have in front of you that corrected copy, and that will be corrected on the website. So if there are no further questions, staff is looking for the board to approve this as the final budget, and I will turn the time back over to you,
All right.
Madam Chair.
Well, let's find out if there are any questions on any of the agenda, any of the categories in the budget. Does everyone have a pretty good understanding? We went over in some detail at our last meeting, the allocations that have been requested, the grants are coming in. Any comments from the board on this? Want anything kind of go into more detail, Mr.?
I just want to say good job. When it comes to budgeting, it's one of those things that you guys put a lot of time in, and then we go, yeah, it's fine, and so I do want to take a moment and say for all those who put time into it and make sure that things penciled out and everything, good job. I do think that what we do here is rather crucial, and I appreciate people realizing that, because I know there was a time this board was in question of where it should sit and what it should do. And so, good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comment? Questions? No? Okay. Let me ask if since it's a public hearing, let me ask if there's any public comment, either in the room or online. Don't have any. Our clerk says no. All right. Well, given that, I'll bring it back to the board. Is there an appetite for a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right.
I move to adopt the draft WRWC tentative budget for fiscal year '24.
All right. And a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion from Mr. Anderson and a second from Ms. Hill. Is there any further board comment, discussion? All right, hearing.
Chair?
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
online, please. Or yes, here.
I have a letter up there that each of you need to sign that we need to send over to the state. So before you leave today, can you make sure everybody signs that?
Sure, you bet.
Thank you.
Yes, you got it. All right, well, hearing no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the budget is adopted unanimously. Congratulations to the team. You got to feel proud about that. We're moving on to item 10, and that is a report, discussion, and action on our legislative activities, and a number of us have been serving on that committee. Who will be presenting for us today?
Thank you, Chair.
Oh,
I'll present
okay,
very
thank you.
briefly. Thank you. So members, there's really just a couple of items and they're informational only. This week, Friday is what they call second House passage deadline, which means, for first committee, second House passage. So
You wanna
it means it has
do
to
your-
come out of committee in the second House. I think it's on.
Yeah, you might just, there you go.
And so that is kind of like the last big deadline after which a certain number of bills will die. So there's a number of bills that are still being worked on in the second House that will likely die at the end of this week. The two main water bills that are being worked on that are of the most interest at this point are AB 220 and AB 387. 220 is the SNWA bill that has to do with moving people from septic onto the municipal sewer system. It really isn't of concern for Northern Nevada directly, other than it's been kind of the principal focus of conservation-related discussions in the legislature, and so it's just, I think, important to be aware of the nature of those discussions and what's going on there. The bill has had a number of amendments proposed. Some have been accepted, some have not. It has not yet come out of that committee, but I anticipate that it will, and so it will not likely die at this deadline. The opposition has been sort of dwindling with each amendment, and so at this point there are still some folks who are opposed to it. It's mainly homeowners in some of these outlying areas in Clark County who remain reticent to join the municipal sewer system for a variety of reasons. But most of the, I don't know how you would phrase it, but other stakeholders involved in the process have more or less come along with the most recent drafts. The other bill that's of interest is AB 387. This is a bill that has to do with the state engineer's authority to manage groundwater basins, and particularly as it relates to surface water in those basins. There's been a lot of discussion on that bill as well throughout the entirety of the session. Most of it focuses on whether it's a good idea or not to explicitly allow the state engineer to consider the impact of groundwater use on surface water as it relates to conflicts that may arise between groundwater and surface water rights holders. And particularly the rub there is really about priority and how that new kind of analytical lens would affect people's priority rights and prior appropriation in general. We don't know if that one will come out of committee or not, but again, both of those would be subject to the deadline. So next week we should have more clarity on that. But again, none of that directly implicates this body's interest, but nonetheless is something to be aware of.
Okay. Any comments or questions on these bills?
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
a question. So that AB 387, is that really the fallout of that significant Nevada Supreme Court decision? I think it was Diamond Valley.
It relates somewhat, but actually it's more driven by a different piece of litigation. There's litigation going on relating to something called the Lower White River Flow System in southern Nevada.
Lower right.
And
Okay.
it's sort of north of Las Vegas, but it is a very large geographic area.
Okay.
There's a number of basins there. There's actually 7 individual basins, and the state engineer made a decision to essentially consolidate the basins for administrative purposes
Okay.
and subject the basins to a pump limit, and that was on the basis of the perceived connection between surface and groundwater, and so that was sort of a unique approach taken by the state engineer and has driven litigation there, and then a perceived need to clarify the law by some as to whether the state engineer can do that or not.
Was there another bill that didn't make it forward that was related to that decision? Was it Diamond Valley, the decision, or?
There is a Diamond Valley decision.
Yeah.
There's a number of other water bills. Some of them kind of get at the edges of some of the issues that had to do with Diamond
Okay,
Valley.
okay.
I wouldn't say there was a bill that was
Okay.
like about Diamond Valley.
Okay.
But, you know, over appropriated groundwater basins
Is the
common
bigger
and-
issue,
And that's what a lot of these bills are about.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions on the bills? And we have the impending deadline, you said this Friday,
Correct.
so 2 days from, or tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know there's a lot in play. There's a lot of water bills still hanging out there. They don't necessarily all affect us, but there's still quite a few. Ms. Rigdon, you had some comments?
No, I was just moving the mic.
Okay. Again, this is for possible action, so I'm going to ask for any public comment, either in the room or online. None? Okay. Bringing it back to the board, I'm looking for a motion to accept the report from our legislative team.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Dare, second from Ms. Hill. Any further conversation, discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have accepted the report unanimously. We're moving on to item 11, the program manager's report. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I recently had some questions on with some new board members, what is WRWC's role when it comes to regional water planning issues? And so I just wanted to take just a couple minutes this morning to clarify exactly what we do and what our role is when water quality or water quantity issues arise. So our primary role, and when I speak to the WRWC, I'm assuming that that's lumping in the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission to some degree because we're one agency, although two different boards. So our number one role is to develop and adopt the comprehensive regional water management plan, and to facilitate implementation of that plan. And we facilitate the implementation of that plan through funding that comes through the Regional Water Management Fund. So we support projects that implement the comprehensive regional water management plan. So our primary role is this very high-level regional planning role that offers us an opportunity to provide technical assistance, financial support, and regional collaboration and coordination. So I just wanted to address that there's some news that came about with Swan Lake and the PFAS situation in Swan Lake, and some questions about what WRWC's role might be in that. And so I just wanted to clarify that our role would be we would play support role to the agencies. We don't take a lead role in any of those issues. We provide a support role. So if the agencies would like WRWC to participate in that, there's mechanisms in the Regional Water Management Plan for us to assist with implementing a variety of programs that might be involved in assisting with that effort. So we would provide that support role. If there was some technical assistance that was needed, we would do that, or help to find the experts that we could rely on to help us work through some of those issues. And then we could also provide some financial support with the approval of this board. So if they came forward and decided that there was some financial support to implement some type of action, we could do that. But primarily, we're a very high-level planning agency. So I just wanted to clarify that so that when you hear about various water planning issues, that it's pretty, we understand what our drivers are. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, you bet. Any further thoughts on this? The whole issue of PFAS has engaged us all. I believe in Reno, we are planning to bring back, we had a North Valley's Water Advisory Board committee, a committee really, not a board, to engage with the public on these issues. And I have a feeling that we are going to be starting up those meetings again. So just so you know, and you might want to participate, it would be great to have you. Okay, any other thoughts on this? Yeah.
And just to kind of piggyback, part of the reason that this is years ago, when the conversation kind of got heated of what we were going to do with this board, why it needed to stay this board, is because regional issues at large go farther than what Tumwa does. And they reach into places and they have a responsibility that actually, in some ways, gives an umbrella even to Tumwa on some of what happens instead of the opposite. And so I only say that for some of our new people coming on or to remind us of what that is. But mainly just so you kind of understand the piece of that. There's a lot of conversation we have. Most of it, you'll see that it mixes together legislation, but some things don't. I mean, from stormwater, I mean, you name it, some of the things that you mentioned with PFAS, some of that. Not that other boards don't have some buy-in to it, but it's not the same responsibility. And so, to me, I really value what you do, and but I think it's important that you understand that we get to help hopefully guide the bigger picture of what's happening. And as a state, there's a lot of great conversations going on of what we're doing. So, thank you.
All right, any further reporting, Kim? No? All right, we are going to close out item 11 and move on to 12, which is possible discussion and possible direction to staff regarding future agenda items, dates for future meetings. So we're looking to hear. I heard someone say they might like to talk about the bylaws. Is that still something you're interested in? Yes?
Chair, could I just, point of clarification? So, unless I'm mistaken, this board has resolutions that it's issued from time to time that reflect certain board rules, practices, protocols, and so forth, but I don't know that we have a set of bylaws per
Okay.
se. So just so we're all talking about the same thing, if you want
Okay,
to
good to
revisit
know.
any of the board's kind of internal rules, it would be in the form of reviewing those resolutions.
Well, would we like to see those resolutions? I mean, most of our new members have probably never seen the resolutions, so I think it'd be useful. Okay? Just to see, it's always important to know what happened before, so that we can make a better plan going forward. Okay, that'd be great. Anyone else would like to see something? Let me ask our staff, we had some great tours. Is there any thought about next year, any kind of tour schedule or future visits anywhere?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's a fantastic question. And yes, there are lots of thoughts, no concrete plans yet, but we're hoping to get to the point where we can start to invite, we're deciding how to invite more leadership and staff. I think that was a great combination.
Yeah.
Was having leadership and staff work together and learn together, and it created some good relationships. So we're going to be working with leadership to find out which staff would be appropriate to start bringing on board and schedule a few more of those.
Okay, so feel free to put those on our agenda whenever you think it's appropriate. You may not be ready to talk about that by our next meeting, but I think everybody that attended really enjoyed the tours. And you're right, it was great to have a mix of elected and appointed officials, team on those tours. It really increased the dialogue, so great. Any other thoughts of future items, agenda issues we're looking for? This does say for possible action, so I will just call for public comment. None, okay. All right, bringing it back to the board. I don't really believe we need to take any action. We've given board direction, so thank you. Close out item 12 and move on to 13, which is, again, our general public comment. So again, to Madam Clerk, no comment in the room or online, okay? We'll close that out. Any final commission comments? Now, I know you all have a lot to say all the time. We all have a lot of opinions. Anything today? Nothing? Okay. We'll close that out. Staff comments?
No staff comments.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I will declare us adjourned.
Don't forget.